One of my favorite things in the world to do is watch Friends. I know it's been off for years and years. It's not even around, but I still find myself binge watching old episodes. And I was thinking about this today and thinking, it's the predictability of the friends in the circle, right? You have Chandler with his quirkiness, Monica with her type A of just everything has to be so neat and tidy and organized. It's Phoebe's ability to make you laugh at her silly songs. Ross always comes in with those smart comments, and Joey and him and his food, like it is just so hilarious. And of course, Rachel, she just brings everybody together, and it's just such this beautiful, cohesive team of people. And it's why I wanted to come on and share with you today that I have an opportunity for you to find your friends in the content creation space. So if you are thinking about creating your first or your next digital course, I don't want you to miss this opportunity because Amy Porterfield just opened the doors for registration for her Course Confident Bootcamp. And I'm actually offering a special bonus for anyone that registers for the Course Confident Bootcamp through my special link. So I want you to go to krystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp to register. That's krystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. And what you're going to find when you get there is I have this special bonus private podcast series. It's called Money Mindset for Creators. So I want you to go register for Amy's bootcamp, download the podcast, and immediately start listening to it, because what this training is set up to do is to help you get your mind right about monetizing your content, making money so that you can fuel your content creation dreams. So go to krystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp to register for Course Confident. And I cannot wait for you to find your friends and find the people that will be there for you. Do you see what I did there? Yeah, nice little friends segue connection. Go to krystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. And I cannot wait to see you inside. Okay, let's get into today's episode. What was it like being on Shark Tank? What a fun question, right? And it is one that I could not wait to hear the answer from today's guest. So I have such a special treat for you today. If you have been looking for an inspiring story about entrepreneurship, being in business for yourself and what that looks like, and from being on Shark Tank, like, oh my gosh, Seneca Hampton's story is so fascinating. So Seneca is an entrepreneur with multiple 7 to 8 figure businesses, from e-commerce to logistics, consulting, and speaking. And he's responsible for over $250 million in sales and has touched over 5,000 products in 20 different categories. So if you have ever thought about Amazon or selling something on Amazon or anything to do with a physical product, you are going to love today's conversation. And we totally geeked out about marketing and business and all the cool things that he has done. And it's been really cool to really reflect on this interview and go back. And I was just like taking notes, listening back to it, because it was so awesome. I could have talked to him for hours. Like, we realized, like, oh my gosh, okay, we gotta tone it down. Like, we have to stop this conversation because it could just have kept going forever. I loved his personality. I loved his ability to be so open. And I feel like genuinely that he has a heart to help other people that are just like you, that are trying to start a business, trying to run a business, trying to really build something that's going to have legacy and last. And I hope that you walk away from today's conversation with so many nuggets of wisdom. So without further ado, let's get into today's episode, the interview with Seneca. Welcome to the Profit Podcast, where we teach you how to start, launch, and market your content with confidence. I'm your host, Krystal Profit, and I'm so excited that you're here. Thanks for hanging out with me today, because if you've been trying to figure out the world of content creation, this is the show that will help be your time-saving shortcut. So let's get right to it, shall we? All right, Profit Podcast listeners, I'm so excited for today's guest. Welcome to the show, Seneca. How are you today?
Hello. I am good. I'm feeling really good. I'm excited. I'm pumped up. I'm ready to go.
Yes. Okay. So we just have to start from the top. You were on Shark Tank. Let's just call it what it is. We have this. It's funny because I was like, how are we going to intro this? Because I actually met Mark Cuban last year at a podcast conference, which of all the places in the world, why would I ever meet him at a podcast conference? Right. But I was like, okay, let's, how do I segue this? I'm going to be all super cool interview and slip it in. I don't know how to do that. So you're on Shark Tank. That's a freaky deal. So let's just start right there. What was that experience like? All the things we have to know.
Man. The experience on Shark Tank, I would do it again in a heartbeat. I was very nervous leading up to doing it. And it wasn't because I was going to be on TV. It wasn't because I was going to be standing in front of the sharks. I was nervous because like any business entrepreneur, business owner, the narrative is very important, right? Especially marketing, right? It's like the narrative is so important and how things are seen and the story is told. And so I was really nervous, oh my goodness, I hope that they portray this in an accurate light.
Right.
And so that was probably the most nerve-wracking part, but the experience was I've never done skydiving, but I'd almost equate it to some extreme sport because your adrenaline is pumping. The process to get from the beginning to the end is a roller coaster. And when you come off of it, your adrenaline is pumping for hours after. And then you finally come down and you crash, not in a negative way, but in a I need to take about an 8-hour nap.
Oh my goodness. Crash. Yeah, I'm sure. And I mean, so I'm sure there's probably, trade secrets that you can't share when you're on the show, but whenever you left, what was the first thought? Did you call your wife? Did you call somebody in your family? What was the first thought running through your mind? That just happened. What was that first moment like? Once you were finished with your whole pitch and you were done, were you just relieved? Walk us through that.
I was relieved. That I remember that feeling. This is actually a really good question. Nobody's ever asked me that question. I remember feeling relieved for sure. The other question that went through my head was Mark serious? That one, as I was leaving, I'm was he serious or was he just joking? Or was that did that just really happen?
Yeah.
And then I'm walking out and I'm okay. I got through it. I did it. And then the thought of, okay, what's next? Mm-hmm. And it was that was a big question that literally took months to eat through.
Yeah.
After doing that thing. But yeah, those were my thoughts when I left. I was okay, was he serious? And, and he was, by the way. I can't share a lot. So they say this on Shark Tank. They say, Shark Tank is like Fight Club, right? What happens at Shark Tank, there is no such thing as Fight Club. You don't mention Fight Club. So there's things you can't talk about, right? That led up to, et cetera, et cetera. I do have funny stories though. I think I probably have the most interesting story leading up to Shark Tank. I think I'll top everybody's story. But I mean, going through that thing was definitely a roller coaster. The emotions were running high. You come off of this high of this roller coaster, and then it's back to business. And it's almost okay, cool. That was great. Wonderful. Put it on the shelf, shine it up. Look at that. That's cool. Boom. Let's keep going. Yeah. Kind of the approach that I took.
Yeah. This is so awesome. I love hearing that. I'm sure it was a big milestone. And then you're just okay, we got to get back to business. We got to get back to work. And people are listening right now and they're Krystal, what is his business? Like they're Googling your name. They're like, what does he even do? Y'all been talking about Shark Tank. So I want to talk about Hampton Adams now, because like, I want to get right to it. As an athlete, former athlete, let's go back. Former athlete and someone who now like does like mental health stuff. Like I do a lot of walking. This is more, but back in my day, like I was a volleyball player, I was a cheerleader. Like I did all the things, and your product, I use something so similar to it every single day. So tell everybody about Hampton Adams and what it does and how it helps people.
Yeah. So I was talking to my insurance adjuster today, because they're doing an audit. They typically do, if you have, business, they do an audit in your insurance. And she goes, so what do you guys do? And I go, oh, we sell athletic tape. She goes, wait, what? She looks at our numbers because they need your top line revenue. She goes, wait, that's it? I'm like, yes, that's what we do. So Hampton Adams is, I categorize us as a sports medicine brand. Our goal is to make products in regards to sports medicine, sports recovery, that allow the athlete to perform longer, stronger, better. Yeah. And so there are a lot of products, and it starts so small with us, with athletic tape specifically. If you've used it before, kinesiology tape, athletic tape, bandage wrap, all that stuff, the adhesive is important. And I think, especially in today's kind of climate and generation, people are allergic to virtually everything. Yeah. And so what we've tried to do is remove a lot of the things that cause people to have allergic reactions from the adhesive, which makes it healthier. And then solve a lot of the just quality of life problems that you have if you're an athlete. You know what I mean? Ripping, tearing tape, it sticking and staying, it being too sticky or not sticky enough, it not coming off the roll, all that stuff. So we really put a lot of time and effort into solving it, to making it just like, I love this stuff. It's easy to use. It always performs.
Yeah, this is so funny because like I said, I was an athlete. My brothers played football, and my oldest or my middle, I have two older brothers. So one of them went on to play college ball, and I have such vivid visual memories of him just yanking it, tearing it, and coming off in pieces. And he looks like a wild animal, like, cause he's trying to wrap himself up and he's doing all these things. And I'm like, okay. So I know exactly what you're talking about when it comes to the adhesive and all the challenges that you see, but now you have this business and it's helping so many people. And I just have to give you kudos, because I think it's such a cool brand that you have and what you're moving forward with. But I did kind of a deep dive on your YouTube channel and all the fun things that you were talking about, because you're in good company here with Seneca, because you said you're an optimization nerd. Well, I'm a marketing nerd and optimization and SEO and all the things. And so I just wanted to ask, like, what is the thing about creating a brand or marketing a brand or business that keeps you going when things get a little tough? Because I'm sure you've seen some ups and downs in your journey.
Being a woman in business comes with its own unique set of challenges, but also so many opportunities. We get ahead by leaning in to what makes us different from business as usual. I'm Samantha Hartley, host of Profitable Joyful Consulting, inviting you to a special 6-episode series exploring the experience of being a woman in business. You want to hear from women consultants who've hit $1 million, who sell 6-figure engagements, or who've broken their own revenue ceilings? Yeah, those are my clients, and they'll be sharing too. Join me for 6 must-listen episodes that tackle key challenges for women consultants.
Follow Profitable Joyful Consulting on your favorite podcast app.
Yes, I have seen things that literally would keep you up at night. Example, I've had things held up by FDA, by customs. Customs are federal agents. And I'm talking $30,000, $100,000, $200,000 worth of stuff held captive, and they're asking you for stuff that you're like, my entire business is. So I've gone through that. I've gone through people using it and using it incorrectly, and then it's just a lot of the list goes on. The list goes on. I think the thing that kind of keeps me going is why I do what I do. The brand is actually named after my parents. And so to me, it's my head nod. It's me paying homage to the both of them. And I watched as a kid, I have 8 siblings. I watched them put us on their back and carry us through life. And it was hard. It was not easy at all. Everything, the entire gambit of drugs, alcohol, all that crazy stuff. And still to be able to watch them. My mom quit drugs and alcohol, went to school. I think she was like 36, 37. And I'm there. I think I'm in middle school and I'm watching her graduate and she becomes a nurse. And then I watch my dad who worked on crab boats in Alaska. He worked construction. Whatever he could do to provide and send all his money home. I watched him go back to San Jose, finish his degree to become a industrial X-ray technician. And I saw them literally do this as they're trying to provide the best life that they could for us. 8 of us living in a 1-bedroom and watching that progression going to something bigger. And just, it was something that I'll never forget. And so for me to build this brand, and when it gets hard, it's not just about me. It's not about, I have a cool brand. And it's really funny. Before Shark Tank, you'd probably never heard of me. And that was on purpose because it's not about me and me being in the spotlight.
Right.
I have 2 kids, a 4-year-old and a 5-year-old. And I want to build something for them so that they can see, and not just the business, but who I have to become in order to build that business is what is so important to me. Of like, you got to be a hard worker. You got to be consistent. You got to be persistent. There are things that you have to be able to do, and a person you have to be able to become, especially if you want your kids to be that. You can't just, preach at them and bark at them. So for me, it's a bigger why with the brand. And I grew up playing football. All my brothers played football. My dad was our coach. My mom was a nurse. So you kind of get that sports medicine. It just kind of all tied together for me. So for me, it's bigger than just the business.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, this is so great. I love hearing people's backstories because I think it does it so well. Because I actually went and I was looking at Hampton Adams and I was looking at, your different content pieces that you have out there. And it's really hard to find any of you as far as like, this is Seneca's brand on Hampton Adams. Like, it's very apparent that that's not what it is. Like, it's like you have awesome photography, by the way. I mean, who knew a piece of tape could look so sexy on a website? Like, let's be real, like the angles, it looks so good. But I think it's really interesting because, like I said, I'm a marketing nerd. I love looking at how products are really presented out into the world to solve a problem. And I wanted to talk about another piece of your story, and that's selling stuff on Amazon. Like, oh my gosh, you have all this incredible experience on the world's largest platform. And I'm sure that also comes with its pros and its cons. So tell us a little bit about that, because a lot of people in our audience aren't necessarily selling products on Amazon, but I know that there are some stories or some lessons learned that you've had to learn about marketing along the way. So do you have any insights that you can share?
Yes, this conversation, just the Amazon side of things, this is a 4 to 5 hour conversation. When it was the Wild West. It was, imagine, literally just try and close your eyes and imagine, bandits walking through town and no one doing anything about it. And literally, and like having a sheriff and he's just kind of there. It was literally that when I started. And it's improved dramatically now. But in terms of marketing, the beautiful thing about Amazon to me is that there's the whole supply and demand thing, right? A lot of people I've found try to start a business or of any kind, whether it be a physical product good, digital good, right, course, whatever it is, and they're trying to sell what they like and not what customers want. And the beautiful thing about Amazon is it will literally tell you if people want what you have. And it's almost instant feedback you get because of how you have to market or present your product. One of the things that I found to be very, very effective on Amazon is reviews, right? Regardless of the business, it doesn't matter what it is. Like this is gold. Like this literally changed everything for me. I literally would jump onto Facebook, I would jump onto forums, I would jump on wherever, and I would literally just look at what are people talking about? What are the things that they complain about with products that they're currently using? What are the things they love and rave about with products that they're using? And I just literally went, okay, well, mine has to do all this. and it can't do all of that. It's so simple, right? In theory, but now it's how do I articulate that to somebody? And I think that's the important part. And I think for that, that's you either got the gift of gab, right? And you can translate it into writing. There's some people that are, literary gurus. I hate writing, by the way. My wife asked me to write something the other day, and I responded with, I dislike writing. I loathe it with a passion. She goes, me too. Or you find a template, a rubric that works, right? Or you just go through trial and error. And I think the beautiful thing for me is I got the opportunity to work at a business that was selling on Amazon. And so I got the opportunity to see or build a rubric or standard while studying, while trying. So I was able to I rolled up my sleeves, and Krystal, I worked 60 to 80 hours a week because I was like, oh my goodness, I could actually build a business. Like I could build one. I could do it. It leverage my time. That was the way to me. And so I put everything I had into it, and I had to learn marketing. I had to learn specifically direct response marketing. Specifically direct response marketing is a way to get somebody directly to make a decision. And if you notice on Amazon, depending on what you're looking for, what's your problem, right? Who am I talking to? Who's my customer? I think we all know this, right? Who's my customer? What's their problem? How do I solve it? But what's their main problem, and what do they wish they had instead? And that's what you sell.
Yeah.
This is what you want, right? People don't want tape that doesn't that rips easily. They don't want to have to deal with the hassle and the headache, right? So it's not selling tape, it's selling ease, it's selling peace of mind, it's selling the outcome. And I've learned that on Amazon very directly. You don't need pretty pictures on Amazon. If you literally you show people this is the benefit you get.
Yeah.
And you're in their mind. That's what I wanted. That's what I've been looking for. It's exactly purchased.
Yeah.
And because there's a 30-day back, right, money guarantee and all that stuff, Amazon's it's easier than trying to, in my opinion, going on, creating your own website, doing your own funnels to your own page. It's much harder because you're talking intent. Now, people on Amazon, their wallet's already in their account, like it's just click buy. Yeah, it's easier, right? Versus trying to get and so for me, it's like taking. And before I started Amazon, I think I started 22 businesses before I started the one that works. 22 different businesses, they all failed. They all failed, but I learned a lot along the way. So when I finally got here, it was like, okay, I'm not starting from zero. I can take all the lessons I learned and put it into this. And specifically, a lot of it it's just marketing psychology, right? It's how do people think and what are they looking for? What is their state of mind when they're looking for what they're looking for? And if you can speak as if you're there waiting, the purchase becomes like so much easier. So much easier. So, I mean, one of my biggest challenges was the people I'm competing with. I'm competing with Johnson & Johnson, Mueller, McDavid, like KT tape. I'm competing with big brands. And if you look on Amazon, you look at the bestsellers list, I'm beating big brands on Amazon. So it's been a ride. I've been my own brand six years, but I've been on Amazon for 8-9 years. So it's been a journey for sure.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question is what year did you kind of start doing all the like Amazon and learning it and like understanding that way people can kind of contextually understand how long you've been at this and you didn't just say, oh, I'm going to do this last year. You've been at this for a while.
No, I think that's the biggest. And as I was like myself, like trying to figure it out, I think that was one of the biggest discouragers for me is I felt like it wasn't happening quick. It wasn't happening quick. And now being here, literally 10 years later, I'm going, oh, it just took time and persistence.
Yeah.
That's all it took. And I say that's all. That's not easy. To be patient and consistent and persistent, even when it's like this isn't moving or working. But I was on the Amazon platform, I want to say 2 to 3 years before I even sold my own products. So I had all that practice and experience. And I think before that, I touched around 1,500 different types of products. And then that grew over 5,000 different types of products over time of me actually doing it. So I got a lot of experience under my belt before I was able to kind of jump on. So I was able to have someone pay for my schooling, so to speak.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, I think that you just gave so many people listening a huge gift just then about saying it wasn't your first business you tried to start. It wasn't your second. It was your 23rd, I guess.
Yep.
It was your 23rd business. Wow. I mean, like, I think that is so inspiring. And like you said, it's like that persistence pays off and just keeping at it and trying. But I have to imagine that you came to a point where maybe your 21st business was like almost taking off. Like, where was that like kind of position where you had to say, okay, this is the thing, like, have to go all in? Did you have to make a big investment? Did you have to get strategic? Like, what was that kind of catalyst to really say, this is the one I'm going to go all in on?
So I have on my phone, I sat down one day and I listed all the businesses, because I was wondering, like, how did I get here? Because I feel like whatever I was doing, I need to continue to do and not forget. I'm trying to see if I can find that list. If I can't, it's okay. I remember I started a record label. I don't know what I was thinking doing that, looking back. A lot of these businesses, I look back and I'm like, what were you? I started a whole LLC. I did all this stuff out of order. It's like, I'm going to start a record label. I created my logo and then I created my LLC and then I got business cards. And it was like, wait, you have no clients.
Yeah.
What are you doing? I think I was like 18. So I was I had no idea. Yeah. Right. And then, a few businesses later, I tried to start an app, right, for the iPad when the App Store first launched. It was like, oh, it's called Tutor Me Now, and it's a whiteboard app where people can sit. And this is before you had like, I want to say screen sharing, but like on the iPad where you could actually like write and someone could see what you're writing. This is before all that stuff, right? And so I was like, tutor me now. This is going to be it. And I dropped $5,000 on wireframes. And I'm like, wait, what? And I got them back. I'm like, this is a wireframe? I could have just so many lessons of things that I was just like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That eventually led me to a clothing line that I started. So I started a clothing line, and we still hold the trademark for it. And the clothing line was Amen, right? So it was AMEN, Amen. Which I was like, nobody's trademarked Amen for clothing. Like, that's insane. And so I started this clothing line. The first month or two, it was literally me on Twitter. This is when Twitter was like amazing. And I'm literally like responding on Facebook. I'm responding to every single person who comments. I'm posting. I'm sending stuff to people. I'm going to events. I'm walking outside and like shaking the shirt. Like, I'm hustling. This is like me actually. I'm like, okay, we $30,000 in 1 month. Okay, now the financial illiteracy. I spent all that money paying off, like, I think it was like, oh, I'm going to pay off my credit cards. And it was like, but your credit cards don't produce any money for the business. You're just paying that off because you don't want. So there were a lot of lessons that I just had to learn along the way of like, oh, okay, I see. Oh, okay. So when I finally got to this process, funny story, I never heard of passive income until I was like 21, 22, but I had always wanted it. I just didn't know what the word was. Yeah. And that was just a lack of vocabulary, education. And so I sat, once I learned that word, I think I spent, I want to say $3,000 to $4,000 on my credit card. Yeah. 20-something-year-old kid, stupid. But I spent all that money on books, on seminars, on groups, on courses, because I was like, I forget where I read it, but it was like, you are your biggest asset. So you have to develop yourself. And it took me developing myself, my ability to understand how spreadsheets work. And that sounds so silly, but like Excel is huge, like really, really huge.
Yeah.
Financial statements, how those work. Oh, wow, that's huge. LLC agreements, how those work. Just expanding my vocabulary so that I understood what I was looking at and what I was talking about and how things work. And so when I finally did jump into something, it was like, okay, I've got a whole new set of tools and experience to jump into this thing to understand how to do it. So 22 businesses later, it might not take people 22 businesses. That was just my journey. I didn't have somebody sitting next to me pointing and going, hey, you should do this, or hey, you should try. This is literally me all on my own trying to figure it out. I wish I had somebody to sit down and say, okay, look, kid, just go right here, do this, do that. But I think I needed that. I think I did.
Yeah. Well, I love to hear you say, by the way, I don't look at that as like you're spending money. You're absolutely investing in yourself for that. You're that investment in yourself. And it makes me curious. Is that something you still do today? Like, do you read books? Do you like watch YouTube channels? Like, how do you invest in yourself today as you continue to grow your business and just, have like just a life North Star that you're going towards? Like, what does that look like?
So this is a principle that I've created on my own that I follow. And it was, I forget where I was reading Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Okay.
And this was 10 years ago. So this is like a 10-year thing. And he said something about going to school, or was Cash Flow Quadrant, one of his books, something about going to school and blah, blah, blah. And this truth hit me of like, wait, we go to school and we study hard to do our homework because we have to. Mm-hmm. And then we forget everything we studied because it was just to take the test, right? And we go through school learning, studying, testing, learning, studying, testing, and we throw it all away because we just want to get through it. Mm-hmm. And then you get a job and you don't do any of that.
Yeah.
Learn, study, test. You don't do any of it. You just do your job. And I thought, I was 22 and I was like, I want to be the world's greatest marketer, right? And I'm like paraphrasing Pokemon. I want to be a Pokemon master. I want to be a marketing master. And I was working at this job and I'm like, wait a minute, I need to study marketing. It doesn't stop because you're not in school. And so that translates. I'm like, well, where do I learn? What's my curriculum? What are my books? Where am I? Well, the world is. And so now you have Google, you have lynda.com, you have all these websites you can go to learn whatever you want. You have YouTube channels, you have Facebook groups, you have free webinars, you have paid conferences, you have all these places, you have books, you have podcasts, you have so many. And so I literally, whenever I hear a book, I buy it. Mm-hmm. I literally just open up my books and I buy it. And I'm like, what was that? And so now every day, right, you get the little notification on your phone when you hit your goal for reading for the day. I just set aside time. And if they have the audio version, I love audio because I like to pause it and talk to myself. But I'll just, every day, I'm always listening to a book and I'm stopping and I'm like conversating with myself. I'm like, wait, did that? And I'm processing what I just heard. I'm like, oh, wow, interesting. I'm always reading. And then I'll be, on YouTube. I don't like the mindless stuff on YouTube. It's just not my forte.
Yeah.
But I'm always learning. Believe it or not, before we jumped on this podcast, I'm learning how to code in Python.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Like, I'm like, the future is computers and AI. And I'm like, why don't I learn how to speak their language? It might do me, so I'm now learning how to code in Python. So I'm always learning something. I think that's just the principle that I have for my own life. And it'll never, ever stop. I will never know enough. I'm never too smart. Everything's always changing. Right. And plus, you stay humble. I feel like people always like humble people. It's like, I don't know, you tell me. Yeah. And I'm like, I just learned something cool. And it's just, I don't know, a much more pleasant way to kind of go through things. So to answer your question, that's my principle. It's how I live every day is I'm always learning. If I ever stop learning, that's when I get depressed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I've stopped. Yeah. And so that's something for me. I've learned. I'm like, I'm not feeling good. I'm like, okay, you need to go to the gym and then you need to start learning something. And it wakes me right up and I'm excited about something again. I'm like, ooh, I'm learning Python. I'm learning how to code and create a program. And now I'm on a whole new path. That's just me.
And it's funny to hear you say that because I think that that's the entrepreneurial spirit. I really do. I think that it's the the reason why you've started, the businesses that you had, and like while you're doing what you're doing today and while you're continuing to grow, is that I think it's a curiosity that we have inside of us. I know that we have a whole audience listening to us right now. They're like, oh my gosh, that's me. That's exactly what I do. Like, I can't be stuck for very long. If I get stuck, I get bored, and I get dangerous when I get bored. And it's it's like just all the positive habits that you can put into yourself is that reinvestment of it's just going to pay off. It's totally going to pay off. And for your journey, I think that it's paid off dividends. And now that you said that about AI coming, I'm like, robots need athletic tape too. I mean, why are we excluding them from your future audience? I mean, if they're going to teach them to run and do all these other things, deliver pizzas, I mean, they may break, and who knows? Hampton Adams, you heard it here. The official sponsor of your AI robot coming to your doorstep.
We're going to partner with Tesla. Hey, you got you, Elon. We'll tape up your robots.
Yeah. See, we're just throwing around great business and marketing ideas. Like, y'all heard it here first. If anybody else has it, just trademark this podcast here. Okay. We said it first. Oh my gosh. Seneca, I could ask you 1,000 more questions about marketing and business, but I want to really dive into something you said earlier about direct response marketing. And really, it sounds like that from the beginning, you've always just been a person in the community, wanting to understand your customers and what they want and how you can deliver that solution to them. So for somebody that's listening, we have a lot of people that are just getting started in their online business or their content creation journey. And they're like, I don't have an audience at all right now. How do I start asking them what they really want? Do you have any advice for someone that's in that position?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be yours. Right? I think there are customers buying from everyone and all sorts of things. Just because they aren't your customer doesn't mean what they have to say doesn't matter. And I think that if you were to, I don't know, let's say you have a course on, basket weaving. This is my mom's favorite example. Basket weaving. I'm sure that there's a course in a community out there where there are pages where people literally sit and talk about basket weaving. And they're free. Just join them and ask questions and talk and provide them value, right? Or just be curious and ask, message people, hey, I'm really curious. Why do you like basket weaving? What type of baskets do you like? Why? Hey, you guys, I'm posting a survey. I really want to learn. People are more than happy to just kind of help to give you information. I think the other side of it too is there is no easy button. There is no shortcut, fast way. There is no just do this and everything will work. There isn't. The most successful people, it's just there's a guy I listen to, Alex Hormozy, and they ask him, hey, what makes you successful versus other people? He says, time under tension, time under weight. It just takes reps. There's no shortcut to it. And so it's okay not to get it right. It's okay. I tell my kids, my 5-year-old and 4-year-old, if they're not breaking something or they're not destroying something or they're not learning, that's all they're doing. Right. And it's just a perspective shift. And I feel like for us as adults, we learn to you can't break things and it's wrong to be wrong. And that's learning. Literally. It's like, I don't know. Let me ask. Oops, that wasn't it. Let me try this. Oops, that wasn't it. Let me try. And you just give yourself the room and the space. So, I mean, I hope this is helpful, but you're brand new. You're just starting off and everything. There's so much stuff. There's so much stuff for me to learn. Just pick something. And there was a lady that I worked with when I was 22 years old, my first big boy job. And she said, how do you eat an elephant? And I looked at her sideways. I'm like, I've never heard that. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't like elephants. They don't sound delicious. And her point was, if you have a big task in front of you, a big project, how do you attack it? And she said, one bite at a time. That's it. That's the answer. There is no shortcut. And so to those new people, I hope this is helpful to you. If there's so much in front of you and you don't know what to do, just pick something and enjoy the journey. That's it. Just enjoy the journey as you go through it. Don't be so hard on yourself. Give yourself a goal and just set little goals and complete them and set little goals and complete them and continue through. What you're doing isn't your life, right? That life is made up of other things, but this is something that you're trying to do. So just give it its time, push through as hard as you can with what you're doing, give it everything you can, enjoy your life, enjoy your time with your family, enjoy your health, enjoy all the things that you have, and then come back and try it again. Weave your business into your everyday schedule. If that means staying up to 11 or 12 at night, well, guess what? You got to stay up to 11, 12 at night.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what it is. And that's okay. And there's nothing wrong or bad about that. You should be proud about that. So hopefully that's, there's no shortcut. But hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah. I think that there was a few little nuggets in there. The one that I want to circle back to is Seneca. I don't know if you know this. I have 3 young boys at home. And for you saying breaking stuff, I'm like, yeah, we've gone through a few lamps upstairs or like the ceiling fan, the glass part. Mm-hmm. We've gone through a few of those, and they have learned. And I've just learned that we don't have nice things in our house. This is the moral of the story. We don't. Maybe when they're all out, maybe that'll happen, but I totally hear you with that one.
Yeah. My wife bought us white couches, and I still shake my head, and I'm like, I don't know why.
Brave woman. Oh,
she's very brave. She's very, and yeah, I have to just let it go. Yeah. I'm like, they're little scientists, and they're just exploring and learning.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yes.
Okay, I feel better.
Yes, exactly. Oh my gosh. Well, Seneca, this has been so amazing, and I have one final segment that I want to go into. I have a few rapid fire questions if you're up for those. Okay.
Hit me.
Well, we kind of touched on this a little bit. It was really centered around advice for a brand new business owner or podcaster or content creator. But I know that you recently started your YouTube channel. So do you have any advice for someone that has an existing business and you're bringing it online for the first time, or maybe revamping your brand?
I would say perfection is the enemy of completion.
Mm-hmm.
It won't be perfect. You'll look back and you go, I look at all my videos, I'm like, why in the world did I think that was a good, and that's okay. That's just what it is. Accept it. It's okay. Keep it moving.
That's great. Okay. My next one is a 2-part question.
Mm-hmm.
What is a dream podcast you would love to be on? And if you could sit down and interview someone, who would be your dream guest?
Dream podcast. Ooh, Joe Rogan. That would be a fun one. My dream guest. Ooh, that's so tough. There's so many people that I would love to pick their brain. That's a hard one. I can't. That's a hard one. There's too many people. Too many people. I could just list all. I'm like, all 6 of you sit here, all 8 of you guys. I want to ask all you guys questions. There's too many. I don't. I feel bad mentioning one, but I guess Elon Musk would be a really great one to just sit down. And what I really admire about Elon Musk is 2 things: his purposefulness. Like, he's very purposeful, and it seems that his businesses serve a purpose, right? We want to make the human species interplanetary important to him. Tesla and all these companies feed into the vision. And I admire that so much. And I'm like, man, I want my interplanetary vision. And so how did you find yours is kind of the question that I would ask him. And then the other thing is his ability to be consistent. It's just insane. I mean, I have a couple of businesses and I'm like, how do you run these this is insane. It just doesn't make sense. So 2 things I really admire about that guy.
Well, we're putting that out into the universe. So Elon, if you're listening, like, Seneca has some questions for you. Okay.
Respond to me on Twitter, Elon.
Yes,
Twitter.
Exactly. Waiting for that blue check any day, right?
There we go.
And then my last question is, do you consider yourself a perfectionist?
I used to.
Mm-hmm.
I used to very, very much. And I switched to a utilitarian, where things just it's just utility. If it works, we'll make it pretty later. That's it. Does it get the point across? Gets the point across. Great. Okay, let's figure out how to dress it up and make it cool later, but just make it work, and then we'll make it pretty. But I can't. If I used to be a perfectionist, it had to look and sound and be just. I can't. Does it work? Does it get the point across? Okay, cool, great, done. Phase 1. Then we'll worry about phase 2.
Okay, this is so good. And you're among many recovering perfectionists in this audience. So you found your people. If you were looking for them, Seneca, here we are.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome to be here and be imperfect because this has been such a fantastic conversation. Where can everybody learn more about Hampton Adams and what you're up to and what's your favorite place to connect with people?
Yes. So if you guys want to check out Hampton Adams, we are on Amazon, but if you'd like to make a purchase, really appreciate it. I would say go through our website, hamptonadams.com. And in terms of getting in touch with me, I need to do way better about being on social media. I used to have a job as a social media specialist, and my job was to grow accounts. After that job, I washed my hands. I was like, this is just, it's draining. But if you guys want to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me on Instagram at Seneca Hampton. Probably be the best place.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for your time and all of your wisdom and the amazing business tips that you shared here today. They were so incredible. So thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. They were so nice, Krystal. They were so nice to me. And it felt like, I don't know. I think the entrepreneurial SWOT analysis guy inside of me was kid gloves. I just felt like, are you guys really?
Is this happening this way?
Yeah. So after the show, they have a therapist you talk to. They just with everybody. And he said, I've been on the show for 13 seasons. I've never seen them let someone down in the way they've let you down. That was the nicest I've ever seen them talk to anybody and not give them a deal. He's like, I've never seen it before. And I'm sitting there still high on adrenaline. And I'm like, okay. All right. Yeah. And then I finally get home and I play through all of the conversation and everything that happened. In hindsight, 2020, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Lesson I learned. I wouldn't say learned. It was just I'm like, okay, I see. There's certain spots in the conversation where I think I could have clarified things for them because it was like a 2.5-hour conversation that they trimmed down.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, I really learned a lot. And I didn't get to tell you my story. I was late.
Oh no. Well, we're still recording. We can add this back in.
So I was supposed to be there at 12 o'clock in the middle of the day. And I was supposed to be there at 12 o'clock in the middle of the day, but I thought the email said to be there at 6 o'clock that night. And so I'm actually in Nevada and I'm in Reno and I'm working on a separate business. And so I actually own a logistics company. So we do last mile delivery, delivering packages, and I'm setting all that up. And so I'm flying back and forth, California, Nevada. I'm setting all this stuff up while having to talk to the producers and write my script and build all this stuff. I'm exhausted. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for this all to be over. I'm so tired. And so I'm in Nevada. It's the last day I'm supposed to be in Nevada. I'm like, okay, cool. I don't come back here for another week. I can go home and rest. And then Shark Tank is in a day. So I'm like, I get to sleep and then go. And so I get a call and this guy's like, hey, where are you? I'm like, what do you mean, where am I? I'm working. Why? He goes, you're supposed to be here. I'm like, wait, what? He goes, yeah, you're supposed to be here at 12. It's 4. I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm in Nevada. I'm in Reno.
Oh my gosh.
It's an 1.5-hour flight. And I'm like, okay, I'll be there. If I can get there in an 1.5 hours, it's an 1.5-hour drive to LA. I'll be there in 3 hours. He goes, wow, okay, that's cutting it, but okay. Because you had to get tested for COVID.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm at the airport. Now I'm like, I'm going to say I'm anxious, but I'm like, oh crap. Okay, we got to go. And then literally as I hang up the phone, they say, sorry, your guys' flight has been delayed.
Oh.
And it was 30 minutes. I'm like, oh crap. Okay. I'm pacing a little bit. 30 minutes turned into 3 hours. And so I'm sitting there like, oh my goodness. So then the guy calls me back. He's like, where are you? I'm like, I'm on my way. And he goes, okay, how long till you're here? And I'm like 2 hours. And he's like, all right, level with me, man. Where are you? I said, I'm on a plane. I'm leaving Nevada. He goes, okay. What time can you get here? And I said, as fast as I can. And so we fly home. I have to get in an Uber. The Uber driver has no idea. Can't talk about it. So he's just gallivanting home, like taking his time. And I'm in the back seat, like having a full, like, oh my gosh, like we got to go. So I finally get home. I don't have any of my props. Like the weight you guys saw, all that stuff is not ready. And so I like had to run and grab it all, throw it in the car, get it all ready. And then I drove very responsibly and within the speed limit.
Wink, wink. Gotcha.
Yes. Allegedly, it's alleged that I was, speeding. It's alleged, and so I'm like flying to LA. I get there and I get to this hotel and I'm like, this can't be the hotel. This cannot be the hotel. It's what's the word I'd use? I'm
scared that it's taking this long.
Yeah, it's rough. I'll use the word rough. It's rough.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, so I pull up and I'm like, this is where we're staying? Okay, whatever. Okay. Like I'm not one of those pinky in the air people, but I'm like, this is a little rough. So I walk in, I get my COVID test. I'm like, cool, swab you for COVID. Great. I walk up to my room. If this was Yelp, they would not get a good review from me. I'll just leave it at that. And so the room was so bad that I slept and I put my hoodie on and I pulled my strings and slept in the middle of the mattress in the bed. It was that bad. I was just like, but mind you, it's like 2 a.m. and I have to be up at 5 a.m. for the next day. So I wake up. It was so bad I bird bathed it. So I'm like bird bathing.
Don't touch anything.
Yes, it was bad. I walk downstairs and they're serving food and I'm like hesitant. I'm like, this is not, it was rough. So then, our ride arrives. We're taken there. I'm waiting in our trailer. And I'm like, okay, are we going to go? And hours go by and I'm waiting. And I'm like, I got to shower. And so I went to sleep at like 1 or 2 o'clock, woke up at 5 a.m. I had just flown all the way from Nevada. So when you guys see me on TV, I'm exhausted. Oh. And I had been doing this, like, I can't talk about it all, but like you're talking with the Shark Tank people and you're building and doing all this stuff. And there's a lot of information they need and you're verifying stuff and talking to lawyers and you're doing it's a lot. And at the same time, I'm sitting in this training and the training was during the same week, 12 hours a day as I'm trying to hire for the new business I'm starting with no employees. And I'm like, it was exhausting. So when I'm up there standing there, sharks, I'm exhausted. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. And so I get through this 2.5 hours. And when I come off, I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm so relieved. That's why I said I felt relieved, because I was like, okay, I can finally rest. Finally rest. And I finished. And it was back to this new business that I have that I've been running for a little over a year now, 50 employees. And it's insane. I think this business does like 2.5 million. It's tough dealing with. It's tough. And I'm like, okay, I've been running ever since. So it hasn't been one of those things where it's like, hey, Shark Tank was, I'm like, cool, great. It's on the wall. Great, wonderful. Okay.
Let's keep other going. Stuff I got to do.
Yeah. So it's funny story. That was I was late arriving to Shark Tank. But in my defense, the email read really weird. And I was like reading it over as I'm on the phone with this guy. I'm like, there's no way that happened. That's not true. And I'm reading it. I'm like, I can see how you can come up with that time, but you also said right here that I have to be there tomorrow at 6. Why tomorrow at 6? Why do I have to be there today at 12 in the afternoon? Like, it doesn't make sense. Yeah, but I made it. I got through it. And surprisingly, it didn't cause any issues.
So we're going to title this episode, I Almost Missed My Shark Tank episode.
Yeah, I really did. And it wasn't like purposeful or like you're just, I'm one of those people where I'm like, I don't lose my keys. I'm like that guy where I'm like, no, cross my T's top. I know.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, I was like, okay, either you're exhausted from all of this stuff or they can't write. I don't know. But it was unique for sure.
Maybe it was a gift to not overthink all the other things that you were doing in your pitch. You're like, the universe was like, I'm going to throw all this extra stuff at him that he's not going to have a chance to overthink. He's just going to be, just go.
Yeah.
Just go. Make it happen.
Yeah. There was a moment when you're standing there before they open the doors. That's the highest level of like nerves.
Mm-hmm.
It's quiet in the studio and the doors open and you walk and it's quiet. So there's no dum, dum, dum. You're just walking and then you stand and it's awkward. It's awkward. So awkward. And
That's
then
great.
You go. And after I got through my pitch, it was downhill because that's the biggest piece. They whatever you film, they can use. So if you botch, stutter, and that forget, that's the narrative.
Yeah.
So I finished that and I was like, okay, cool. Now ask me the business questions. I've been doing this 6 years. This is easy. What's up?
Yeah, we're good. We're good. Yeah.
We're good.
Well, and I'm going to link to that clip too, because I have it's like the minute 45-second clip or whatever that we have. So we'll make sure and put that in the show notes too for everybody. Thank you for the bonus story. That was fantastic. We couldn't have finished this without that in the rough. I told you it was going to be such a great conversation. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that you hit up Seneca and ask him all the questions that you have, because this was so much fun to talk to someone who is building businesses and never gives up. I think that was the biggest takeaway from this interview. It wasn't his first idea. It wasn't his second idea. It was 20-something ideas into trying and failing and making mistakes and pivoting and continuing to go after something that you're capable of. And it was just such an incredible conversation. So I'm going to link to ways that you can connect with Seneca. Go follow him on Instagram. Go subscribe to his YouTube channel. They're all going to be in the show notes. So krystalprofit.com/episode 380 to check him out. And if you're in athletics, support him. Go to Hampton Adams and check out all the cool things that they are doing. I'm going to link to their website as well. And go check out. I told you, who knew that, athletic tape could be so sexy. Looking at the different pictures and the way their website is laid out, it's so simple and yet very powerful. And so I hope that you enjoyed today's interview with Seneca. I had so much fun. But that's all I have for you today. So if this is your first time tuning in, make sure that you hit the subscribe or follow button wherever you are listening to today's episode. And I would love it if you would take a screenshot, tag me, tag Seneca, let us know what your number one takeaway was from today's episode. Or if there's something similar to this that you want to hear more about, let me know. I'm looking for ideas as we're going into a new year, and I would love your feedback on other things that you want to hear on the Profit Podcast. But again, the show notes for today's episode, krystalprofit.com/episode 380 for all the ways that you can connect with Seneca. And that's all I have for you. So as always, remember, keep it up. We all have to start somewhere. Hey, Profit Podcast listeners. Thanks for sticking around to a little bit after the episode to hear this special message, because I want to hear from you. We are starting a new segment called Fan Mail Shoutouts, and I want to hear from you, and I want to hear your questions. What do you want to know? What questions have you been dying to ask me? So here's how to make this happen. Go to the app where you're listening to this podcast right now. Go there. I'll wait a second. Okay. Now, once you're there, you're going to see a hyperlink at the top of the episode description that says, send Krystal a text message. And that's all I want you to do. Send me a text. It could be casual, informal. It could be totally anonymous, or If you want, you can include your name and the name of your podcast or content wherever you are creating, and I will give you a special shout out in an upcoming episode. So again, go to the show notes for where you're listening to this episode right now, and it will say, send Krystal a text message, and I cannot wait to hear from you and give you a shout out in an upcoming segment of Fan Mail Shoutouts.